Good morning, this is Carolyn Borba, and I am doing an assignment today, a choreography assignment from the Divine Choreography book. I am a second-year student for Dancing for Him Ministries, and this is going to ultimately be an upload. However, we were having trouble with the camera, so once I explain this dance of 6 people, then I will upload what I can upload from those videos. So what we had is we had 2 billows, 2 flags, and 2 dancers, which made up the 6 people. This was performed in an area of a church where we had a center aisle and 2 side aisles. And so what we began with was the processional on the interlude of the song, and the song is by Julie Myers, and it was called Crimson Blood. So we had, as we entered, we will have stage presence, or placement, excuse me, which also comes from this Divine Choreography book. It teaches about where you are positioned on the stage for the most effect. So as I explain this, you will see that the stage placement always begins from the back of the room, in this case going towards the stage. So the way we started was on an 8 count, and the 2 people on the outside aisles were people with flags. They were red flags, and then there were 2 people coming down the center aisle carrying a billow, a red billow, and then there were 2 dancers that followed that billow who were dressed in red and white. So the way we did the processional was that the flag people started down the aisle when they got to the 4 count, and it took about 28 counts to get into position where they were to go. So the 2 flags started, and when they were just taking the flags and going overhead, moving them as they moved down the aisle to keep the flags up over the heads of the people in the audience. And remember, their flags were red. So they started down at the prelude of the song, and when they got to the 4 count, the center aisle where the two people had the red billow cloth, we had folded that billow cloth so that it did not distract from people seeing what was going on. And they held that billow over their heads as they marched down that center aisle. And when when they got to the 4 count with the flags, the billow people began to move. So when the flags got to the 8 count, they went to their positions, stage left and stage right. And then when the billow got to their 4 count, moving down the center aisle, the 2 dancers, doing the concept of leading and following, began to move on their counts. So when the billow got to its 8 count, it was in position up center stage. It was, that is called, oh goodness, that is called upstage center. That's where the 2 people with the billows were, upstage center. And then as the dancers came down, well, one went to the downstage center to the right and one to the left. And so everyone was in position. And we got there on the counts, which made it look very rhythmic and very organized. And so when the song began, the people with the red flags were, remember, stage left, stage right, and they were worshiping, but they were doing a symmetrical type of movement with their flags, which they had practiced. And the billow was doing the rising and the falling on the same count. And then the dancers, who were downstage right and left, as the billow rose in the air, the dancers symmetrically and copying, actually, were worshiping where the billow was going up. And then when the billow came down, they would turn towards the audience. And then when the billow changed positions and went sideways, the two dancers in the red and white were moving out towards the audience, giving that blood, that crimson blood, to the audience, which is, of course, represents the crimson blood of the Lord Jesus Christ. And we did that several times, and then when we got to the towards the end, there is a place in this song that says, "Thank you for the blood." The two flags, the two dancers were in a line, separated but in unison, and they were doing that gesture of thank you for the blood, thank you for the blood that was shed. And we did that together as a group, and then towards the end we had a group shape. It's hard to explain every step, but we had a group shape, and the way that group shape was made is that the two dancers picked up a white billow which had been placed in the beginning on the stage. And the white billow and the red billow, as they were making the sign of the cross, the flags changed from red to white, and they came into the center, and they were bowed low, and they were worshiping the Lord with their white flags of purity and of holiness. And then you see the two dancers and the two billow holders were holding the cross. And so some were raised up, some were positioned low, and that was a group shape. And so that's how it all began, and how I hope that